Hello chess friends, and welcome to your chess channel, and welcome to my advanced chess theory and to another part of the king's in defense. Today we do the Saemisch attack again, but with a little difference in which white delays the situation in the center, but I'll show you what's all about. So let's see again. d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight on c3, bishop to g7, e4, d6, f3, castling, bishop to e3, e5, knight from g to e2, knight on c6, queen to d2, and after this move a6, I've told you before, this flexible move of preparing b5, white decides to play rook on d1. So he simply delays a little bit the situation. He wants you to take this pawn because now the threat is to play even c5 here. So he wants you to take in the center, and then he can jump with the knight and liberate his bishop and simply castle. So this is the main strategical idea, and he will be dominating in the center with these two pawns. He would really controlling the center of the board. But here I wanted to show you a game. It was played in 1981 between Marger Peterson and Robert Schlamp, the German with the black pieces. He played a very good move, rook to e8, and delayed the situation also in the center a little bit, and forced white to play d5 and close the position. Of course, taking is not so good because then the knight would jump in, and even multiple threats here are on g4 possible. But I'll show you lines in which are tactical shots on g5 possible, with the knight. So now white played d5, and it's a little bit different now for you as black. Here I don't recommend you now to play the move knight on a5 because you try here transposing in similar lines as the orthodox and creating fast an attack on f5, because you see this crowded situation around the king, and the king has to move somewhere, and it will move, of course, on castling king side, because and then with this move of rook d1, again white showed his cards, and the position it's not so flexible anymore, so he cannot castle queen side, of course, and he showed, as said, his cards, and then you should attack, you should create an attack on the king side. So that's why here black decides to play the move knight on e7, because after moving this knight on from f6, again create this standard attack on with f5. But the difference now from black's perspective, and why it's a little bit weaker than the standard orthodox line, is that you have already weakened your queen side. But it's not such a problem, because white has to make many tempos. He has to move the knight, develop bishop, castling, and that are at least 3 tempos for white to play, and you can create in 3 moves an early attack. So let's see the continuation. Now came again, as said, this knight on c1. Of course, it could have come to g3 too, but the point is that the bishop has to be liberated, and with the preparation of castling kingside. So now in our orthodox or in King's Indian style, black played knight on h5, preparing f5, because he wants to create an attack really fast. Maybe even knight on d7 was better, preventing c5 early, but here white plays knight on d3, and he prepares c5, of course, with the try of an attack on the queen side. So now comes f5, bishop to e2, and here is the threat, of course, to play f4 with an attack on the knight, and here black plays again knight on f6, but knight on f6 is the standard move in our orthodox style, because you know that from this point black controls these two squares, and then if pushed to g5, then he can push immediately g4. So after that white castled, and black simply continued our standard attack on the king side. Now bishop to f2 and g5. Excellent play so far by black. Now comes this c5, and now black plays knight to g6, and here I wanted to show you now came if white takes this pardon me, after g4 came knight on a4, and then of course g4. But if now white would have taken on d6, you can't take with the c pawn on d6, because the preparation was, of course, to play knight on b6. But then we have again this standard move that I showed you in the Kasparov videos or similar, this g3, and the continuation. If he takes the rook, you take with the check, and then get this knight. So the best continuation for white would be here to attack, and if you take this knight, white would have taken on d6. So that's two pieces for a rook and a pawn, but with this coordination of pieces and some preparation with the rook, I think black is obviously better here, and he has created attack, with the difference, of course, he has not this d6 pawn, but in this continuation I would be rather playing as white. So that's not what happened in the game. After g4, white played knight king on h1, and now black played bishop to d7, attacking this annoying knight on a4, and the continuation was, of course, b3, because if black takes now the knight on a4, then the b file would be open, and it would be dangerous for black here. So black simply continued sacrificing the piece, but it's a good sacrifice. It's at least opening the position around the king after taking. Now g4 isn't good, because then the knight comes and would then the knight would attacking the king and the rook, and if of course white takes, then with our standard maneuver and with mating threats. So after that white took, and here black took with the pawn and closed really the position around the king. Again some threats, again knight on g3 threats. So white moved his king on a more secure place, but you see already the position for white king is not so good. Now came king to h8, again a standard maneuver in King's Indian play, because now of course the rook will come on the g file, and this rook will be really strong there on the g file, and now white took. Now came c takes on d6, and white tries to open the position himself, but here black finds a very good move, taking now the knight on a4, and you see white has two possibilities here, even to play e6 and create a sort of passed pawn, but it would be a blocking passed pawn. It would be easily blocked because black has good coordination of this square on e5, and it would be easily stopped. So again, with the infiltration of the queen into the game, and it's no problem. So black stays to its plan and played this rook, and white decided to take the pawn on d6. But again, you see these pawns can be stopped on the 8th rank, and because of the good control of these rooks, they will be connected. So far, no threats of promotion of queens. So now came again a very good move, knight on h4, and of course the idea is here maybe to play queen to g5, or maybe liberating the bishop and creating an attack on this very weak square, weak pawn, this g2 pawn. So now they played knight on c5, and here comes the liberation of this rook. It's really very strong, the best piece on the board on this g file, and here white tries to block it out. Of course, now after taking, he managed to get a pawn in front of this rook, but black is obviously better here, and now comes bishop to d4. What white was probably thinking here is that after a trade of bishops, that black would be continuing the game with dark square problems, but that's not the point here. Here comes knight on f5, controlling again this maybe the weak square of black, but it's very good protected by the pieces, and you see how this rook is really a monster rook here. So now comes queen to f6 after the trade of bishops, and here comes here you see why this knight on f5 is very good, because it's controlling this potential trade of queens. And now what white tries to get rid of one of this knight, but now here a simple attack on the rook. Now comes rook to f3, and now you see good coordination of black knights, and now comes queen to knight on e6. The idea is, if somehow black gives up the coordination, the dark square control, that he would probably mate him somehow, but now comes this very good move attacking the queen on e4, and here comes queen to c2, and here is the threat of mate, a simple threat of mate by black. And here white tried to check black, but here black finds a grandmaster move and played the move rook to g7. Of course, he stayed with this rook on this file because now the threat is of mate, and of course white would have to give up his queen, and if he takes with the knight, of course, then again it will be mate. So here is where white resigned. Very good play, I think by black. He was like FIDE master titled, and he was playing against an intermaster, and I really liked his approach on this rook to d1 idea. But you see multiple tempos played by white, and he eventually wanted to castle kingside, and had to play many moves to get such goals. So in my next videos I will continue, of course, with my King's Indian videos, and of course with my new series of avoiding systems. So see you next times, guys. Chess is the best.